All right, everyone, welcome to Flow Not Force, our webinar to learn how to create a life of abundance without constant stress and struggle. We are here to learn how to align our energy so we are not always pushing and hustling and doing the most, especially when it's not necessary, right? So you are at the right place if you have big dreams and goals and want to go after those goals, but in a more aligned way. You are probably exhausted or drained and you want to figure out a different way of doing things, right? You want to follow and to flow and to just be one with nature and the universe, but you also have big goals and you're not sure how to balance this. At least that's some of you already commented when you were registering that that's what you were looking for, right? That balance. Did some of you wanted to create more money, but not in a way that sacrifices your well-being, right? So you are absolutely at the right place if that's what you are looking for. And when I'm talking about abundance, mind you, I'm not talking about, okay, we're going to make 1 million next year. I am talking you creating abundance, creating a life of abundance according to what you believe that you want, according to what's in your heart for you to create in your life. It can be an abundance of love, it can be an abundance of money, it can be an abundance of everything, right? So this is what's going to happen today, right? Here's what you need to get ready for, and I hope that you are as freaking excited as I am right now. So we're going to have a juicy training. I'm going to give you all I got, at least in an hour or so. And then I am going to make an invitation. Of course, you know, during these trainings, there's also always something that we coaches have to offer. And I am going to offer you because I think it's freaking amazing. And yeah, it's so special, but I am going to talk about it later. But anyways, with this training, you are going to have a lot to work with, okay? You got the juicy training, and then you have the invitation. If it aligns, you decide. If not, we're still friends. I still love you, all right? Then I'm going to have a Q&A and chat with you. So if you have any questions, you will feel free to ask questions, to chat with me, to comment, to share your experiences. And by the way, if you are watching this on the replay, this is going to be exclusively for the ladies who are live with me. And obviously, we are going to tap into a different way of being and doing. So if this is something that you are looking for, welcome home, baby. Welcome home. So you are probably wondering, who am I? What am I about? So this is a little bit about me, just in a nutshell, because I am a lot of things and some of you can relate. But I am a doggo mom. I love nature. I love swimming. It's one of my, newer passions, I would say. I am also a complex childhood trauma survivor. So I have been through a lot in this life, pretty much anything you can imagine. But here I am still standing, probably like you are, right? I am an empowerment coach for survivors. I help people who have been through trauma and adversity in life to, create their best version of their lives, but in a way that honors themselves. I am also a certified life coach, a yoga and meditation teacher. I'm a writer. I'm a blogger. You can read me on Tiny. You can read me on The Elephant. You can read me on my personal blog, Healing and Succeeding. And I am currently writing a book, and I am going to tell you all about it towards the end because I am working on something really, really special that you will be able to be a part of if you make me that honor. Okay, so are you ready? I cannot see the comments. Let me see the comments. Are you ready to start? Because I am about to dive in. Okay. All right, I see the chat going. Ready, ready, ready. Yes, amazing. Okay, so first of all, let's start talking about flow versus force. So we are all on the same page. We know what we're talking about. So when I talk about force, I am talking about this perspective of you being in this energy, you and I, okay? Because I'm human, I go there sometimes. This energy of pushing, of taking yourself to the limit, not listening to your body, being out of alignment, something feels off, you're spending so much energy, everything is draining, right? And you probably feel exhausted because, oh my God, what is going on? So probably you are forcing, you are in this energy of forcing things, or you are forcing a particular situation and you feel all of that I just listed. I had a conversation with a friend the other day, and she was telling me about how she wanted to start a business, and she started and something felt off, right? So at the end of the day, we were talking and talking, and she was forcing things. It was not aligned. So when you do things in this way, you're going to have a lot of troubles, right? And that's why we're here. We're here to tap into flow, to tap into what feels good, what feels aligned, and it makes sense. One thing about the flow is like when you are in the flow, and you can comment in the chat if this is something that you experience as well. When you are in flow, it feels really good and things make sense. Trust me, I was trying to sort out a situation here in Tenerife, and I was just looking for, I can do this way, or maybe I can, do it in a different way. I was just like trying so hard, forcing, right? Like on this side of the spectrum, I was forcing. And all of a sudden the solution came. It was not the solution that I wanted, but you know what? It made total sense, and it was more in flow. So that's what happens. Flow gives you energy. Right? Of course, you're going to get tired if you are working or if you're doing things, but it gives you energy because you are in flow, right? It brings you fulfillment. It's more natural, and there is ease, right? So today I'm going to try and lead you to flow, and I'm going to give you strategies to help you with that. Okay. Oh, and I would like to talk about what flowing is not, right? Because sometimes when I talk to people and I talk to them about, okay, so we need to flow with life. We need to be more in contact with, especially as women, right? We have the women's cycle, and I try to cycle sync and work according to my cycle. And everybody is like, not everybody, but some people are like, okay, but this means you cannot do what you want all the time, right? But flowing is not about always doing what you want. It's not about not having discipline or consistency. It's not about never doing anything uncomfortable, or the contrary. It's not about only honoring your needs and forget about everything. Flowing is knowing where it flows better and go there. Is it going to be uncomfortable? Yes, sometimes it is uncomfortable, right? But you are going to have that feeling of, oh, I am doing the right thing. I am following my heart. I am doing what my body needs, right? So even though you've got all of that, the feel good and the alignment, you are still going to experience some discomfort because it is part of life. And I'm not here to tell you, you know what, this is all going to be amazing and we're only gonna flow. Okay, right here in my tribe, if you are a part of my tribe, you already know, we're all about being gentle. We're all about gentle success and knowing, that we're human. So we allow ourselves to be human here. So yeah, flowing is more than just this. You experience discomfort, but you are freaking happy and fulfilled. That's all I can tell you about it. All right. Okay. So does that make sense? Is that resonating? Is everybody like, yeah, I want to be in flow? So let's spend some time here talking about why do we have this tendency to force. I wrote down push with a C. I think I have dyslexia, girls. I think I have dyslexia. Anyways. So we tend to force, push, hustle, right? We tend to do that a lot. And you are probably thinking like, why the hell do I just keep doing these things? Why the hell can't I just, chill and relax? Why the hell can't I go lay down and relax and I have to feel guilty? Why is it that when somebody comes into the room, I'm like pretending that I am doing something? It's like we need to always be in motion, right? So we're not crazy. We're not crazy. There is a reason why we feel this way. There is a reason why we think we need to push harder. If something isn't working, and I'm telling you this as from my experience and working with clients as well. And I use myself as an example. When things are not going my way, I go, what else can I do? Right? The do. What else can I do? And most of the time, there's nothing else to do. It's just like, go ahead and rest, think about it, come back tomorrow, right? With a clear mind. So the reason why this happens is we have to talk about our society, right? We have to talk about society's demands and the pressure and the expectations that society has, especially on us. It's all women here, so I'm going to talk to us in particular. The society tells us that we have to keep going, and don't you dare take some time for yourself. You have to go and serve somebody else, right? So there is this pressure, there is expectation. We live in a world where we glorify the struggle, right? If you say that you achieved something and it was really easy, people are like, right? It's not the same. But if you talk about all of your struggles, which are commendable, right? People react in a different way. It's like, oh, yes, it's like we have to struggle to achieve things. And it's very, very glorified. So that is a huge, huge influence in us, in our lives, right? And then there is the environment where we grew up. So the people around us when we were growing up were either helping you take care of yourself while you go after your goals and do the things, or were telling you when you had a bad mark at school, they were probably telling you, you have to study harder, you have to do more, right? How many of us? And I'm talking about the healthy version, right? The healthy version is like your parents are telling you to study. The unhealthy version, then we're already going to past traumas and past, experiences where you probably were told, basically, and taught and brainwashed to believe that you cannot rest, that you just have to keep going, right? From my experience, for example, coming from trauma and being told that I just had to keep going, it really took a toll on me because I really kept going. You know what I mean? I did not stop until I was almost 30. So all of this is making a total difference in the way we interact with the world and in the way we do everything, basically. Have you heard the saying that goes like, how you do one thing is how you do everything? So we are suffering all this pressure from society, our peers, the environment where we grew up, the traumas, what we've learned before. And what happens is that, of course, you try to go with the flow and rest. You have a million voices in your head telling you you cannot, right? But there's normal. I mean, that's why it happens. Now, and that leads us to develop some survival mechanisms and to disconnect from our inner flow. So what am I talking about when I'm talking about the survival mechanisms? I'm talking about you not being able to rest, you self-sabotaging in a way, overgiving, self-sacrificing, and all these behaviors that are probably more specific to you because we all have kind of like a modus operandi, right? But that's what happens. You have all of these experiences and they, eventually you are going to achieve some, acquire some mechanisms that are useful to when you were surviving, that were useful to when you were trying to go for that corporate job that doesn't serve you anymore. They were useful before, but now we need to kind of switch, and we're going to talk about it. And another thing that I want to touch on is the disconnect that we have nowadays from our inner flow, right? Because this happens with everybody, trauma or no trauma. You are born, you are perfect, you are worthy, you have no shame, you have nothing, right? You are just like living life and experimenting and touching things, right? That's who you are. You're pure, precious. And then you have your flow. If you're hungry, you cry, then there's food, right? If you and you follow and you cater to your needs, right? Or you ask the adults in your life to cater to your needs. So what happens when we grow up, and this is even more severe for people who grew up in an unhealthy, toxic, violent environment, is that you are taught that your needs don't matter, right? Maybe you suffered self-neglect and you just learn to not listen to your needs. That's what happened to me. I was a very neglected child. So I just learned that, if you have a toothache, you don't go to the dentist. That's what I have learned. And it's crazy. It sounds crazy when you say it out loud. Even I am thinking, oh my God, that's crazy. I used to think like this. But it's only normal, because if these things happen to you, especially when you are in your formative years, it's going to affect you. Your brain is forming, and this is what your brain is going to believe unless we do something. So please give yourself a hug. Like, you're doing the best you can. You know what I mean? You're doing the best you can. And this is the reason why, in general, this is the reason why we keep forcing ourselves, we keep pushing, we keep hustling, even though we know that there must be another way. But the good thing is, like, we're here. We're here to learn a different way, okay? So let's dive into it. Let's dive a little bit more into flow, not force. All right, so I want to tell you something, little story. I don't share this a lot, but I am like a trained actor, right? This is one of my first courses that I've ever, actually liked and enjoyed doing in life. And I had this teacher, and this theater teacher, there was one day we were doing this exercise, and in theater, you kind of like, you have to pretend doing some things, right? And there was this scene where one of my colleagues needed to push something. So my teacher was like, you know what? There's a difference between pushing and pushing. Young girl looking at my teacher, what the hell is he talking about? So he was talking about how there's one thing is to go ahead, confidence, boom, and you push the thing. And then a different thing is you doing this. Right? And you go, So let's imagine that you are pushing the door to your goals, and you are pushing the door to abundance, right? So the action is kind of the same, but you can flow and be like, okay, I'm pushing this thing because I want to create the life that I want. Or you can be like, oh my God, and you can force things, right? And I feel like this analogy explains perfectly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about force versus flow, right? Because if you are in force, you probably relate to this picture. Like, you're thinking, I'm not enough, right? I have this thing called not enough notes to the self, which is when you go through situations where people show you or tell you or prove you that you are not enough, and you accumulate all of these notes in your head, and you think you're not enough, right? Many of us have this limiting belief. So we're here in force. We are carrying the not enough notes to the self. We are carrying the trauma. We are carrying the pressure from society and the stress and anxiety. And we are forcing, and we are trying to just go and achieve the thing, right? And how does that feel? How does that feel? That feels terrible. It's a lot of pressure, right? But when you are in the flow, which happens, when we heal, when we address past trauma, and another thing, I believe that when we address past trauma and when we start tapping into ourselves and into our inner flow, it doesn't matter pressure from society or whatever people say, Anyways, so the flow is that feel-good feeling. It feels aligned. There is clarity and focus. There is mental and physical energy. Gaia just said something beautiful. I see my doors swing open when I approach. I love that. That's a beautiful visualization. We should all do that. Imagine just doors opening, because that's what's happening. We don't need to, right? Okay. So let's tap a little bit into abundance and flow, and why this is so important, right? Why is this so important for us? So when we are in flow, we feel more aligned. We can make better decisions, right? We have this elevated confidence and motivation. There is aligned success and more peace. So I invite you today to, as humanly as you can, of course, tap more into the flow so you can achieve the abundance that you want to create in your life, so you can create your dream life. And with what I said, I believe that your brain is already going to start working and being like, am I pushing or am I pushing? You know what I mean? So let's take a look into the why, into the, not the why, the how, because we already saw the why. So here is how to create abundance from flow and not, constant struggling and the stress and the overwhelm. So how can we do this? I am going to talk to you about 3 major points. Yes, there is more to this. Of course, there is more to this, but I want to give you as much as I can, not to overwhelm you, and for you to be able to do something with this information today, okay? All right, let me take a sip of water. All right, so number 1, what we need to do in order to create that abundance, right, without the struggle, is to unveil what's behind the force, right? What is behind us pushing and struggling and hustling, right? I spoke to you a little bit about this, but now I want us to go just a tiny bit deeper, okay? So when we're talking about unveiling all of this, we are creating awareness, because when we have the awareness, we can do something. And hear me out. Some of you already have a lot of personal growth work done. But the thing is, this is an ongoing work, because the more you want to up-level your life, the more things show up. Like, am I the only one? Right? Before, I just wanted to get a job. I got the job and I was like, am I good enough for this job? Right? And I got the job, and then I wanted to have my own business. Do I have what it takes? Can I live from this? Am I enough? Am I enough? Right? So we need to unveil and just keep unveiling what's behind the force. So you can think about this generally, or you can think about this particular situation. There's this particular situation. Now it's the time for you to think about the particular situation that you want to change, that you want to level up. Yeah? So we need to take a look at 3 things to unveil what's behind the force. So the stories, the roles, and the mechanisms and beliefs. So we need to take a look at the stories we tell ourselves, right? What happens when you, I shared this video the other day. It was so funny. I started laughing at myself because I think it was like 7 p.m. I had the most productive day ever. And and I was done. I checked all my to-do lists and everything. And I was about to close my computer, and there was a voice, boom, you should be doing something else. What else can you do? And I started laughing because I was just telling myself that what I did was not enough, right? So there's this story in my head going on about how I just have to keep doing more. So we all have all of the stories, and I don't think we can get rid of all of the stories, but what we can do is to become aware and get to a point where you can laugh and you can be like, I know this story. I'm not going to listen. I'm just going to make myself a cup of tea, celebrate what I did, and lay down, right? So let's talk about, sorry, there's somebody coming in. There you go. So let's look at the stories you tell yourself. Let's look at the roles you are playing in your life. So when I'm talking about the roles, I'm talking about these, not just the role of mom, of a partner, of a friend, of a sister. I'm talking the roles of being the helper, being everybody else's emotional support, the life savior, right? Sometimes, well, I guess most of the time, we acquire certain roles mostly in our childhood, and we just keep playing them out forever until we stop to think about it, right? Because these roles that you have been playing, maybe the helper, as I told you before, right? The one who's always there. All these roles are stopping you from getting into the flow because that's not who you are. That's just the role that was assigned to you. And you need to think about, do I want to keep having this role? Because probably getting into your center and getting into yourself is going to be much better for you and for what you want to achieve and for you to be in the flow. Because how can you be into the flow if you are being constantly interrupting to play roles that don't even belong to you, right? Sometimes people have to be responsible for themselves. I know a lot of people with this problem, with the roles problem. So, and then we spoke a little bit about the survival mechanisms and beliefs. Just get to know yourself, right? And now that we had this conversation, think about when you get triggered, when you get tired, when you are exhausted, what are the mechanisms that you resort to? Do you resort to overworking yourself, trying to help other people so you don't help yourself with your problems? And what are the beliefs? What are the beliefs that are behind? With the story, there is a belief, right? With the story, with my story of I just have to keep going, there is the belief that if I rest, something will happen, right? And we also need to think about the fact that all these stories and all of that, they come all the way from the past to the present moment, right? So sometimes we need to go, further in our childhood to see, because remember when I told you about, the trauma and the environment and everything, some of us, to survive, we just acquired these mechanisms so we weren't punished, so there was no consequence. Now we need to do some work to just bring ourselves back to the present moment. We're safe now. We can flow and do our lives. We deserve it because we've been through a lot already. Yeah? Okay, let me take a sip of water and check the comments. Okay, Andrea is saying totally agree. Amazing. Okay. Second thing that I want us to check. It's the survival vortex. Ta -ta -ta -ta. Okay. So the survival vortex is a concept that I came up with. It's going to be in my book, and I am going all in this concept, and everybody that I shared this with is going like, oh my God, thank you for finally putting a name to what I was looking for. So see if this resonates with you. Now, the survival vortex, basically, is a place you go when you get triggered and start resorting to a past survival mechanism. Okay? You get triggered, something happens, you don't know how to deal with, and then you resort to past survival mechanisms. It's basically entering survival territory. Okay? So that's the thing. Imagine you are all centered, everything is okay. I don't know, some of you probably meditate, you do your yoga, you feel very centered, right? And then somebody says something, okay? Somebody says something, I don't know, they talk about your business and how you should be doing more, which is a topic for many of us, and you get triggered. So what do you do immediately? Try to prove that you are enough and that you are doing enough, right? You got yourself into the survival vortex and you just, get sucked by the survival vortex. Another example, you are living the time of your life, you are single, but then you meet this guy and all of your personal growth work goes out the window. And something happens, the guy, I don't know, ghosts you, or you have to leave the guy because it is too much. And you are, what the hell happened? What in the world, what made me get in this situation? Okay, you were sucked by the survival vortex, okay? So what do we have to do here? we need to be aware that there is a survival vortex, meaning there's like this energetic space we go when we are triggered, when we are stressed, when we are exhausted, that we start acting in survival. And listen, when we're acting in survival, we are not in flow, right? When we're acting in survival, is full on mood. I'm going to force things to happen. And we know that's not how things actually work. All right. So yes, let's be aware of the survival vortex. And here the thing is like spotting when you are entering survival territory, center yourself, get back to your present self. Okay. That's when you get back to your center. That's what happens. Okay. So I really love this this concept. This is one of the things that I'm going to dive deep with you if you choose to say yes to my invitation. So I'm going to leave it there because I know there is a lot to this topic, but the main thing here is you being aware that there is this energetic field, right? There's the energetic field of love or joy, emotion, but then there's like the survival vortex. So when you see yourself going there, because just like the example I gave you, I was almost giving in to working more because that's the thing that I needed to do more and blah, blah, blah. And I caught myself in the act. I centered myself. I'm like, okay, Erika, we are in 2025. You are an independent woman. Nobody's coming to beat your ass off for something that you didn't do. Relax, breathe in, breathe out. Centered myself, made a cup of tea, and went to lay down. Is this resonating? Yep, we have always to make our reflection. Yeah, of what happened and why. Exactly. And when we have the name for things, we start realizing what happened often, and we can stop it from happening. We can stop it from happening, or we can just snap out of it easily. Okay? Is this making sense, everybody? All right. So now, number three is mindful discipline. Okay, some people use this term for different things and different coaching modalities. But the way I see mindful discipline is energy management plus consistent supporting habits. Here's the thing. We're talking about flow, not force. We're talking about achieving abundance. We're talking about creating your dream life. So it's not going to happen if we just stay here, right? And be like, okay, these are my stories. These are the rules. And there's a survival vortex. Okay, all right. We can't stay here. If we want to move on, if we want to move forward, if we want to achieve what we want, there's a certain amount of discipline. And if you don't like discipline, just think about consistency, okay? Because I know that word sometimes can be a little bit aggressive to people. Forget discipline. We're talking about you managing your energy and you having supporting habits that will allow you to succeed, right? Because not everybody we are going to, get up all motivated, and we all need a strategy. We all need a vision, somewhere to go to. So I believe that in order to achieve that abundance in a way that honors yourself, you need to get familiar with your energy, and that can look differently for everybody because we're all different people, right? So if you, for example, I spoke to you about cycle syncing and working around like the menstrual cycle as a woman, right? That's a way of you managing your energy. You can check in with yourself every day. You can start to track what are your energy levels. How do you feel about socializing? Socializing has been such a huge thing for me lately. Socializing and being around friends, I used to think I was introverted. I was just around the wrong people and I was spending energy. Of course, I am so sensitive that when I was around people that were very negative or draining, sometimes they didn't even do anything. They just gave me like a bad vibe. And I would feel completely drained. So I have to be mindful of my energy. So this is your invitation to be mindful of your energy, but also have some consistent supporting habits that are going to help you get to where you want. And these habits don't need to be anything special, but just something that will help you move the needle, and just continue doing your work, right? And when you think about the supporting habits, and this is another thing that I love exploring when I work with people, because sometimes we're like, okay, I need healthy habits because I want to achieve X, Y, and Z. And we're like, yoga, meditation, journaling, blah, blah, blah. I mean, not everybody has 2 hours to do that, right? So when we think about consistent supporting habits, I am like, what can you do? First things first, let's get you centered first thing in the morning. So you can get in your energy and not everybody else's energy. That's as simple as you spending 10 minutes drinking your coffee, journaling a little bit. I always remember this client that she used to do, her Bible studies and drink some tea. And that was her moment. And that was enough. And that woman is like buying her third property. She's doing well. And she doesn't need like a whole 5-hour routine. So I'm all for you checking in with what is it that you need to achieve your goals and how can you adjust it to your own habit, to your own reality. Is that making sense, ladies? Have you ever tried to like be more disciplined, but then it didn't align because you were trying to probably do too much or trying to follow somebody else's lifestyle that didn't serve you, right? Because then again, if we're trying to do all of that, because because that's the thing. And if you're like me, you are going to totally relate to this. I love learning and I love doing new things. So I'm taking everything to extreme, right? And sometimes I forget that I am the one who makes the rules, right? So sometimes I'm trying to read 3 books. I'm like, what am I doing? I don't need 3 books. Yeah. Oh, Leah, you said it amazingly. Replacing one busy for another. Exactly, exactly. And not focusing on what we really need, not honoring our needs. Alrighty. I love that. I love that. Okay. So these are the 3 main things that I believe we need to consider to live an abundant, aligned life that serves you. But here's the thing, here's the caveat, and we need to really pay attention to that. I stopped trying to be perfect or do things perfectly. Such thing does not exist. Yes, absolutely. Done is better than perfect, as the old saying says. We need to talk about this. We need to talk about one thing that we usually forget, especially as people who have been through some sort of trauma, some, adverse experiences. I heard somebody say the other day that you cannot compare your nervous system to somebody who hasn't been through anything in life. Okay? We're just wired differently, right? We're very funny because I discovered that for some reason trauma makes us funny AF, but we need to consider that if we want to level up in life, it's not like I am going to do this once, right? I'm going to be disciplined for a week and then forget about the other things, okay? So this is something that we need to just nourishing. Sometimes we are going to do this more intensively, right? And sometimes we are just going to have in our supporting habits some inner work practices, right? And why? Because as you create your abundant life, old stories will show up. And you will think, oh my God, I thought like I've already overcome this. What is happening with me? You're just leveling up. And when you are leveling up, there is this thing where you hit a certain point where you are comfortable. And when you start getting uncomfortable, what happens? Something triggers you, and there it goes. You can fall, in the survival vortex. So we don't want this to happen, or we want to snap out of it as fast as we can. That's why we need to continue to address limiting beliefs. We need to be aware that old stories will show up. And I think somebody said grace. Yes, we need grace to be a little messy. Yes, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. We are going to have all of this, right? We have old stories, the limiting beliefs are going to come, and we need to have grace and not judgment within ourselves. But at the same time, you have big goals and I want you to achieve them. So what we're going to do is to just keep doing the inner work, but in a ways that serve us, not with crazy obsession, not with crazy perfectionism, just like Andrea said, but with grace and with gentleness. So we can have the tools, right? Because stress and anxiety are going to come. And if you have been through tough experiences in life, we have a certain, a hyper aware nervous system, and we need to regulate often, right? So we need to have those tools to deal with stress and anxiety. When I started my business, I was excited. I love doing this. Like, this is my purpose and this is my passion. And I was just so excited. But then I realized how triggering it is to have a business. And if I didn't have the tools that I have now for me to be able to just center myself, get rid of the not enough notes, like I wouldn't be standing where I am. I'll be probably crawling, crying in a corner or something, because it is tough and you're going to have challenges in life. And it's good for you to have the tools and just keep doing the work, right? Okay, yeah, let me see. Life is up and down, so we have to give ourselves permission to just relax a bit and do things at our own pace. I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. Okay, so now what I want to do now is to invite you to something, okay? This is where the invitation comes. So, and after the invitation, we're going to have the Q&A with the ladies that I like. I did not forget about you. I want to have some time to talk to you, okay? I'm going to be mindful of your time, but I'm going to still be here to answer your questions and maybe do a little coaching, who knows? Okay, so here's the invitation. As you probably already know, I have been working on a book. I think I said it like 3 times already. I don't know, I don't remember. But I am working on a book. This is a book for survivors, people who have been through trauma and adversity. And it's all about helping them become successful without self-neglect, self-sacrifice, and get into this flow that we spoke about and not force, reconnect with themselves and do things in, a gentle way. But listen, this book and the thing that I'm going to share with you in a minute, it's all about, yes, healing, yes, being gentle, but I want you to kick ass, okay? This is not for us to just like healing. There are a lot of like healing coaches out there, healing programs. That's not what I'm about. I'm about helping you become freaking successful, but like aligned and fulfilled and all that jazz, So here's the thing. Started writing this book, got myself into some writing courses, as I do, because I love learning. And there was this teacher who said, you know what? For your first book, just write everything down, everything give it your all. And that thing got stuck with me. So I started working on this wonderful book that has like my life's work in it. And when I looked at you're doing like an outline for the book, right? When I looked at it, I was like, damn, like I need to teach people all of this because I've never seen that in such an order, right? And I've been coaching people one-to-one for the longest time. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to teach everything. So that's how the Gentle Way to Success came to life. The Gentle Way to Success is a coaching program. This is a beta edition. What does that mean? You're going to be the first. If you sign up to this, you're going to be the first. And we are going to co-create. I'm going to teach you everything I know, but I'm also going to use you as like an experiment. And you're going to give me information, right, on how does this work translates when we do it in a group session. And I'm going to be able to put all these experiences in the book, of course, not mentioning you and all that jazz. So the gentle way to success is all about helping you create your dream life without self-neglect, self-sacrifice, and burnout. I want you to become successful. And I want to be clear, this is a program for people who have been through some sort of trauma and adversity in life. Because I realized, and the reason why I'm writing this book is that we have a lot of information on healing, but when it comes to succeed, the other day I was reading this book, and the advice sometimes for a survivor is just not there. We need something else. And I need that the thing that we need is the gentle way, right? That's what I believe. So what happens inside of this program? You're going to have ongoing support and accountability. Yes, we're doing the healing work, but we're focusing on the strategy to achieve your goals and your vision. You're going to walk with clarity and confidence. Remember the door that I was talking about? So you're going to be walking to the door, flowing with all of this behind you. I just love this picture. You're going to have a community of cheerleaders because, this is a program that is going to be a group program. So you're going to have plenty of cheerleaders, even though I'm not having a lot of people in the group. I want this to be a small group. And you're going to have access to personalized tools to reduce stress and anxiety. So imagine you're going after what you really want, right? But with all of that, helping you flow. I think that's freaking amazing. So I'm just going to brush through the curriculum. You can see all of this in the page. You can see all of this, but this is not going to be some fluffy program. We're going to dive deep. Really deep. We're going to start week 1 by reclaiming your right to be gentle because, it's enough of being guilty for taking some time to rest and all that. So we're going to be talking about all of this, okay? These are 12 weeks. I'm going to help you create that routine that works for you so you can stay consistent. We're going to talk about personal energy management. I'm going to share with you what I know, human design, cycle syncing, honoring your personal energy. We're going to go through all that. We're going to go through the relationships in your life. Oh my gosh, this is a lot, right? 12 weeks. And then after a month, I want to catch up with all of you. So I'm going to be doing a group coaching session after a month. This could be easily like a 2,000 euros program, but this is about 300 because it's a beta program. So if this is speaking to you, oh my God, I even forgot about the bonuses. Like there's just so much. And if you sign up now, this week you have access to 30-day self-compassion journal and also my Finding Peace in Family Relationships kit, where you will be able to work on your relationships within the family. I know it's tough. You're going to have access to workshop, a workbook, and a 15 minutes meditation. And you will also, if you pay in full, have a one-on-one coaching session with me. Oh my gosh. So my question to you is, are you in? These are some of the things that will happen inside of the program. You are going to become calmer, more confident. Go after what you really want. And I wanted to put really in bold because we're playing too small. I know we're playing too small, okay? So we're going to work on going after what you really want. No self-neglect, no self-sacrifice. We're going to work on that. I really want to eliminate that from your vocabulary. There was this client that used to suffer from like just feeling guilty all the time. And she used to play this part of the mother in her family, right? She was the one nourishing, being there for everybody. And then a member of her family really messed up, like really messed up. Can't tell the circumstances because of course it's private. But I was so happy because she used to feel guilty all the time. All the time she was guilty. If she took time for her, even if she was happy, she used to feel guilty. And after 3 months to hear somebody say, Erika, the guilt that I used to feel, like, no, it's gone. That's what I want to happen to you in this program. I want you to, like, at the end of 12 weeks, one of these things gotta go. So no more having, your past limiting you, all these past survival mechanisms, adios, unjustified hard work, and true aligned success from the inside out. not just achieving things and working hard and all of that. I want you to be really, truly successful. Okay? More peace, more clarity. I'm going to drop the link in the chat if I can find the chat so you can take a look at it. And if I can actually find the thing. But this is my baby. This is my life's work. And I am so freaking excited that I can share this with you because I believe that you deserve to have your dreams come true. But I don't want you to beat yourself up in the process. And I want you to be more gentle and to enjoy the journey because, as I said, we've been through a lot already. So this is your path to go after what you want, but in a way that honors yourself. Thank you so much. Michelle's like, it sounds amazing because it freaking is, you know, it freaking is. And this is one of the things that I have created that I'm the most proud of because I've been doing this work for a long time now, you know, and I am sharing with you everything. So for a beta price plus amazing bonuses. Okay, so this is it. Go ahead and check it out. Now, go ahead and check it out. Now, what I want you to take from this, oh, and I have this quote that I wanted to share with you, okay? The link is in the comments, in the chat. And for the ones who are watching the review, you are going to find the link like somewhere, wherever. I think I'm going to put this on YouTube and private for everybody to see. Okay. All right, ladies, I'm going to read you in a moment and I'm going to open the room for questions and everything. But you know what? I love this sentence, this quote. I found it today. Those who flow as life flows. Ah? The dyslexia is kicking in because it's almost an hour that I've been speaking. Those who flow as life flows know they need no other force. Let's give ourselves permission to flow because everything in life flows. Everything, right? We have the seasons. We have the sea that comes and goes. We have the moon that has its cycles, and sometimes we see her and sometimes we don't see her. We have our own inner flow, our own cycle. And let's unapologetically honor that. Let's just honor that. It's what you deserve, right? So here's an invitation for you to do this with my help, with my support, with the help of a community. And if it's not your time now, that's fine. I'm still here. I'm still going to be present, supporting you in any way that I can. I just want to say thank you so much for coming to this webinar. It was really a pleasure. If you are watching the replay, I have you in mind. I have, you know, your energy here. Okay. So I'm gonna open the stage for questions or chatting. We can just talk if you want. And okay, let me stop the recording. Bye everyone. See you on the next one.